You're listening to the KATcast, a weekly podcast from the staff you love to listen to each weekday on 94.3 Cat Country. Killian Hart and Jordan J. Now, here they are, talking about life, love, and everything mid-Missouri.
Well, here we go. Another KATcast. And this time, sadly, we have no Jordan J with us today.
Yeah, he's unfortunately a little under the weather.
Yeah.
So we'll have to catch up with him next week.
Dealing with some sick kids as well. So, so here we go. It's Killian Hart. Today, we're going to talk about some fun interviews that we've both done over the years. Each of us individually, together, we've had some too.
Yes.
You know, musicians, famous people and whatnot. And, you know, it's funny, sometimes with interviews and when you first meet somebody, you have an idea of what they're going to be like and they surprise you. Sometimes you think they're going to be great and they just turn out to be duds.
Right.
And other people you're not necessarily so excited about, but you're maybe, you know, doing it out of obligation. You're like, that was a great interview.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, no, hands down. For me, Jason Aldean, we had the opportunity to interview him, a former co-host and I, before the pandemic. Mm-hmm. And he was just so nice and just easygoing. And I think, seriously, we probably could have, if he would have had the time, sat there and talked to him for an hour or more. I mean, just a really nice, down-to-earth guy.
There's always more stuff, especially a good interview, more things that you'd like to ask somebody. But you normally have a line of people that are like, get out of my way, I'm next.
Right.
You know, so musicians are sometimes kind of a different sort of interview than you're going to do with, say, you know, comedian or an actor or something. I will tell you, if I were to rank the best interview I ever had in my life, the one I most enjoyed, probably Ray Romano.
What?
That guy was fantastic. I talked to him in 1998, I think it was. He had just started Everybody Loves Raymond.
That was 2 years after I graduated high school.
I know you were a youngin'.
I was.
But he was so funny and he was so gracious with his time, and he called into the radio station I was working at in New Hampshire at the time, and he was doing a stand-up in the area that night. That's why. And he was great. And again, just a memory that I really enjoy.
Okay, so one of my favorite interviews that you and I have done together, Joey Chestnut. Yeah, competitive eater Joey Chestnut.
Yes.
And this was, you know, early on in my career. But again, super nice guy. I find the whole world of competitive eating fascinating. Like, my spirit is willing. My body's like, no.
It's true.
Most of the foods that they eat, if I just walk past them, I'm gaining 10 pounds. So to see people, these fairly fit-looking people, eat these mass quantities of food.
It's true.
My curiosity is like, how? How do they do it?
It's true. It's you wonder the limits of the human body.
Right.
What can it handle? But the amount of food that this guy, and he gave us like little, I don't know what you call it, hacks or tips or whatever of how he does it. But
I don't want to give anything away. But yeah, he gave us like, you know, kind of like how he prepares for a competition. I was just like, this is fascinating.
He prepares like an athlete. He has a training regimen.
Yeah.
Before he does it, you know, it isn't like it's just down the gullet and there you go. So pretty incredible. You and I both interviewed Hobie Howard from Sawyer Brown. He was great, man. You know, and again, that was one of those that I didn't know what it was going to be like. I'd never met the guy before, you know, but he was very funny. He told some great Sawyer Brown stories early on in their career, and
one talking about the most unusual thing they ever autographed, which was a toilet seat.
A toilet seat. Fan brought a toilet seat to it, which I'm not sure what that says about how you feel about the band. I'm not sure. Or was it just the first thing she could grab? Or I don't know.
Okay, then I have more questions about that. I mean, why does she just have a toilet seat lying around?
Hobie, if you're watching this or listening to this, will you get back to us and let us know? Speaking of musicians, Eddie Money.
You've talked about this before.
Eddie Money, and I when I was ranking them in my mind, I was going back and forth. Is it going to be Eddie Money or is it going to be Ray Romano? Eddie Money, the late Eddie Money, I'm sad to say. Eddie Money was so great. Again, so affable, so giving of his time. And again, same radio station, New Hampshire. He was giving away tickets to a show that he was doing that night. And I said, okay, well, hey, so Eddie, we got a pair of tickets here. He goes, why don't you give away a half a dozen of them? I go, okay. So
perfect.
That kind of thing, but he had great stories from on the road and working with the Ronettes, one of the Ronettes. And,
sure.
It was fantastic.
Another one for me, Jody Messina.
I'd
of
love
my
to hear that one. I've never heard that one. Yeah.
Interviews. Again, she was so nice. When I called, she goes, "Hey, I think she said she was packing her kids' lunch. She goes, "Can I call you back?" And I know how this goes. You have a very limited time, and then they move on to the next station. I thought, okay, I probably missed my chance, and I get it. She's a mom. She's busy.
Yeah.
She called back.
Isn't that cool?
And it was like the coolest thing. I mean, and she was so nice. And, I told her, hey, I had actually met you once before. And, and she's not going to remember me or anything. But, we talked about that venue and we talked about, something that had happened to her that evening and how it had just kind of changed things for her. And she's like, oh, that probably wasn't my best performance. I'm like, are you kidding? Nobody would have known that.
No,
you knocked it out of the park. It was, amazing.
That speaks to that. These are just regular people in so many cases. Going back to the Eddie Money thing, same thing. I had his phone number, and I called. I was calling his home number.
Right.
And I call, and this lady answers. I say, hey, it's Kevin Hilly. I'm supposed to talk to Eddie. She goes, oh, I'm so sorry. He went to drop the kids off to school. He's going to be back real shortly. Can you want to give him a call back? And I said, yeah, no problem. So I called back a little while later. Oh, I'm sorry, he's still not here. He's not back yet. I said, well, I'll tell you what. Here's my number. Can you just have him give me a call in the studio? She says, sure. A few minutes later, the phone rings. Hey, it's Eddie Money. Hey, I'm really sorry. And it was just like, okay, this is cool. My wife loves that story because she's like, you know what? He's just taking the kids to school.
He's just an average guy.
To them, he's just dad.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you've interviewed a whole lot more people than I have.
I've got more years on you. That's all. That's all that means. Donny Osmond. Again, what a great interview. I interviewed him in 2000. Remember when he was doing the $10,000 pyramid? Yeah. He was hosting that.
Yeah.
Right about that time, and that's what he was promoting, the $10,000 or $25,000 pyramid or whatever. Donny Osmond makes you feel like you are his best friend, like he has known you his entire life.
Yeah.
Very, very personable, very affable. You and I interviewed Bill Engvall, comedian Bill Engvall, when he was on Dancing with the Stars, remember?
Yes.
And I told him, I said, hey, Bill, by the way, just so you know, my wife voted for you every night. He goes, tell her thank you and God bless you. We've both of us have had some great interviews together.
Yeah, but apart from an interview, and I wish I would have had the opportunity to interview this person, but hands down, one of the nicest people I have ever met in country music. Lives up to the hype, Garth Brooks.
I knew you were going to say that. Was quite an experience for you, wasn't it?
Garth and Trisha, they make you feel like you live just down the road.
Wow.
They make you feel like they have known you, forever, and they're just easygoing. Like, I was like, oh my gosh, we're going to meet Garth and Trisha?
Yeah.
What? As soon as they started talking, all those jitters, gone. I mean, they were just so ridiculously cool. Hands down, one of the best experiences I ever had.
The way you related it was almost like you were surprised Trisha didn't bake something for you.
I wouldn't have said no. I wouldn't have.
One really cool experience I had, and this was way early in his career, Ben Affleck.
What?
This was in person because the radio station I was working at in New Jersey, they had sent us to Hawaii for the premiere of the movie Pearl Harbor. Mm-hmm. They had picked one radio station from each state.
Sure.
We were the one from New Jersey. Flew us out there. Ben Affleck was in that. James King.
Mm-hmm. Is it Kate Beckinsale?
Kate Beckinsale, and a bunch of others. So they had some time set aside for us to interview Ben Affleck. And I mean, it was so fast. It was like a cattle call.
Sure.
But, sat down for about a couple of minutes. And it was cool. He was very nice, very friendly. But again, he was at the beginning of his career. So there wasn't a whole lot of stuff. This was years and years before the Batman. Okay.
Right.
But it was great. I mean, it was before, what's the one with Matt Damon he did? The smart guy. Not A Beautiful Mind.
Oh my gosh, I've blanked out.
I know I'm going to Good Will Hunting.
Yeah, I was going to say
before
Beautiful Minds, Russell Crowe.
Any of that, So Ben Affleck, that was really cool. So.
Yeah, and I know he probably hates that meme where that's going around where it just looks like he's really put out. That's one of my favorite memes, and I just keep thinking
Ben Affleck.
Ben Affleck's got to be like one of the coolest dudes on the planet, because he has a sense of humor about that.
And he's a very real guy.
I
mean, that was my take from it. It was very real, very down to earth.
Right.
And most of these people are.
Yeah.
They're famous because we've put them on a pedestal.
Mm-hmm.
But they're living their lives. They're,
There's just a very few, I would say, divas that I've come across. I ain't going to tell you who. But, I just kind of chalk it up to we all have bad days.
Yeah.
And we probably just caught them on one of theirs,
Let me tell you my Christina Applegate story. I've told you this.
Yes.
But I had an interview set up with Christina Applegate. Mm-hmm. I'm in the studio, and she was apparently in a car driving. She was riding and somebody was driving the car. Okay. I get a call. This is Christina Applegate's producer. Are you ready to speak with Ms. Applegate? Oh, yep, we're all ready to go. And he goes, okay, here's Christina Applegate. And silence. And I go, okay, well, I don't hear anything. She goes, because I haven't said anything yet. Oh, my God.
Her.
I go, okay. So then I go on, all right, well, hey, we're visiting with Christina Applegate. Of course, you probably remember her as Kelly Bundy from Married with Children. And she says, I've done other things since then. I go, oh, boy, so this is how this is going to go, huh?
Okay.
So it was a rather short interview. She wanted to get out of there as bad as I wanted her to get out of there.
Okay, hands down, one of my favorite things she's ever done is Dead to Me.
Yeah.
It's fairly new. She's
Meryl
done
Streep?
No. That's Death Becomes Her.
I knew it was a death movie.
It's not a movie. It's a show on Netflix.
That too.
Yes, Dead to Me. She is genius in it.
Oh, she's very funny. And again, maybe I just caught her on a really bad day. I don't know, but it was not one of my more fun interviews. That's for sure. So,
Clay Walker. I interviewed Clay Walker.
Oh,
and I'm telling you,
that was before our time back together again. Then,
yes. And I'm telling you, if I wouldn't have said, we had a meeting we had to get to, and I was like, I'm very sorry, I got to go. But we talked for like 45 minutes, which is unheard of.
Right.
But he just had story after story, and it was so nice, and just we chit chatted. Phil Vassar was like that too, just very personable. Chatted, just easygoing, great stories. With Phil Vassar, he was in an airport, so he was trying to catch a flight. So that one was fairly short. But Clay Walker, I'm confident we'd still be on the phone if I didn't have to go for that meeting. Like, we just kept talking and talking and talking. Great guy.
That's cool. Do you remember the before the concert interview we did with Mark Wills?
Yes.
Okay. Mark Wills, I'm just going to say, before
he'd been golfing.
He had been golfing. Yes, that's right. And I said to Mark, I don't know why I even asked this, but I go, hey, Mark, so when you get up on stage, you're going to do 19 something? And he goes, oh, no, I'm not going to do my biggest hit I've ever had. I like
sarcasm. Ah! I'm a huge fan of sarcasm.
It was very much sarcasm. So Mark Wills was having himself a real good time.
He put on a great show.
You read into that, yeah. So that just some of the great interviews and folks that we've, and a number of these, by the way, that I'm talking about. Like, you can find them. Actually, some of yours too. Mm-hmm. If you search far enough, you'll find them online. If you type in Kevin Hilly, Ray Romano interview, or Kevin Hilly, Eddie Money interview, whatever, they're online, YouTube and everything like that. But I recommend you check them out if you're curious, because some of them were really great. So.
Yeah. I just think we've been, especially in country music, we're just, it sounds cliche, but we're blessed to have a lot of great folks in the country music industry.
And just in this business, that's one thing sometimes I guess we take for granted, but we are very, very fortunate to have met some, pretty famous people.
I nerd out. I get nervous. I get all sweaty and stumbly and that still happens. Yeah.
Pretty man.
Like your songs. Yeah, that's me.
He's good looking music man.
Makes my heart happy. Yeah. That's me. I just turn into a bumbling idiot.
Hopefully we get Jordan J back next week for this train wreck.
That's
but
right. Yeah,
we
fingers
appreciate
crossed.
your checking in. Make sure you subscribe. Okay, you see the opportunity to subscribe to the KATcast. And you can of course always check out more. It's Cat Country at mailzimmer.com. And that is another edition.
If you ever want us to talk about something, if you've got a great topic
Let us
idea,
know. Yeah.
if you want to know something more about us, whatever the case may be.
That's the KATcast this time. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening.
You've been listening to the KATcast, your weekly dose of fun from the staff you know and love on 94.3 Cat Country. Click subscribe and never miss an episode. Share it on social media and tell your friends with 94.3 Cat Country.